Welcome back, mortals. Ready for the fantastic? Sit back and enjoy.
The next morning, I awoke to the sound of digging. I opened one eye and spied a large badger struggling to push against my ward. I was fully awake now. Licking my bottom lip, I relaxed the ward a little to let the critter through. Faster than it could possibly imagine, I snatched it and swallowed it whole.
Note to self: cook them first. I gagged a bit but managed to keep it down. It dawned on me that I'd been human too long. However, it served its purpose. With a little bit of something in my stomach, I got up to tackle making my lair homier. Inside of an hour, I had the cavern cleared of long-forgotten bones and overgrown brush. As a dragon, I didn't need furniture, but there were things from my apartment that I needed. I set to work sectioning the cavern to resemble an apartment. I enclosed my treasure in one room, another room into a kitchen of sorts. I had no need for pots and pans, but a fire pit would do nicely to cook my food. In another room, I made it into a bedroom. I had a giant chest of furs I'd collected through the years to lie on. I'd worked up quite the appetite and went in search of something suitable and filling. I couldn't shift into a humanoid form, but I could camouflage my appearance. Any humans about would have seen a large eagle flying in the sky. I spotted some deer and picked out a buck for my lunch. Movies had it all wrong, or perhaps their version of dragon was. My race didn't eat people. We were peace-loving. Compared to Earth's dragons, who had been hunted and killed for their treasures, abandoned Earth, and migrated to another world. But that was another story. We were significantly different and bigger. We had the ability to shift into other forms, and we had magic. We didn't burn down human villages. In fact, we adored humans, which was why we shifted into their forms. My finishing touch was the large-screen TV that I had transported from my apartment. I needed it to watch my favorite shows, and more importantly, current events. A dragon needed to know what was going on in the world. I got my cell phone and left a detailed message for my boss at the library. I didn't know how long it would take to solve my problem, so I put in for a leave of absence to address a family emergency. "It's about time you came back," a disembodied voice said loudly.
What?
"Show yourself," I demanded with more confidence than I felt. A few seconds later, a dragon I hadn't seen since I was a hatchling appeared before me. "Greetings, daughter of Miklanfir." My heart dropped to my stomach. "Greetings, son of Banlogir," I responded. "Why are you here?" "I have been looking for you for a long time. I am here to escort you back home. There is an urgent matter to address." I regarded him with skepticism. Longor would never have come to Earth willingly. He hated the humans we had back home, so coming here was not by choice. "I have no desire to return to Terra. If you recall, we were banished. We escaped persecution through the Veil, and it was repaired. We couldn't return even if we wanted to," I reminded him. "It was by royal decree that all assumers were dragons who had assumed the human form, be banished. Queen Banlogir passed 5 years ago. Your mother was the legal heir to the throne. We know of her passing, so that leaves you. You are queen now. You must return to rule." I laughed. "You can't be serious. Why haven't you taken the throne? It's been your sole purpose in life," I pointed out to him. "So it has, however. By law, you are the rightful heir, since you are still alive." The way he phrased that immediately awakened my internal alarms. Longor had always been ambitious and had always set his sights on the throne. Terra was a matriarchal society in which the female of the species ruled. While my mother was the sister to the last queen, she would have had to take the throne. Males could rule too if they were the only offspring the queen produced, which was Longor's case. "Why don't you go back and tell them that you couldn't find me?" "You can go back and rule," I said. "It is not that simple, Morgana." He said my name as if it left a bad taste in his mouth. They hated that my parents had given me a human name. "They can sense you. That's why they sent me to bring you back. The throne means nothing to me. I don't want to rule. Couldn't I go back and abdicate the throne? Longor's eyes lit up. You would do that? He asked. Yes, my life is here. Very well. We will leave in the morning. There are too many humans around to fly to the passage now, he said. I nodded to him and moved further into the cavern. I wanted to check my treasure without being obvious about it. My sixth sense warned me that Longor wasn't honorable enough. He would steal from me. Although hoarding treasure was a quirk of my kind, I wouldn't put it past Longor to increase his own treasure. Back on Terra, dragons didn't hoard treasure. They had it, but it wasn't an obsession. It became so when we came to Earth. This need to have lots of it wasn't something I dwelled on anymore. It had been centuries since I even thought about it. But still, it was necessary now that I was a dragon again. I padded over to the makeshift paddock I'd constructed earlier. I had intended on poaching some livestock so that I wouldn't have to go hunting often. I'd only managed to capture a lone female mountain goat, and she wasn't pregnant. Until she was used to being in the paddock, I'd have to keep her enthralled. The last time I was here, the cavern was not as tidy. When did you return? Asked Longor. It has been a few days. My shifting spell has expired. I didn't see the need to lie to him. I mean, the whole reason I was on Earth was because my family had shifted. We were assumers. I see. If it hadn't, I wouldn't have found you, he said. He knew all too well that the only way he could track me was when I was in my dragon form. As a human, it would have required stronger magic, which he probably didn't have. It got me to thinking. Who was helping him? I wondered. Have you eaten? I asked. The goat wouldn't last with the bit of straw I'd collected for it. The trip to Terra was the equivalent of 1 year and 2 upon my return. He might as well eat it since I'd lost my appetite. Isn't it your dinner? He asked, but he was ogling it hungrily. No. I left him to it and went to inspect my treasures. The chamber was undisturbed and the treasure intact. I guess when I sensed him must have been at his arrival. During my absence, he couldn't have entered because, although he scented me, it was too faint, and that told him that I wasn't there. I gave him credit for not forcing his way in, but he did say that the last time he was in my cavern, that it wasn't as tidy. Longor wasn't to be trusted. Dragons can enter each other's lairs, and he had done so. I returned to the main chamber to find him preening. He was always a proud one. The goat was gone, and I didn't see any evidence that he had eaten it, but I did hear it bleeding. I made my way to my sleeping chamber without a word to him, and I didn't care where he slept. Morning came too soon. I'd spent most of the night worrying about going back to Terra and what would transpire there. When I came out of the chamber, Longor was just entering the cavern carrying 3 sheep in his massive jaw. He dropped them on the ground and with his snout pushed them toward me. The hunting is poor here. I had to go further than I'd like to gather these tasty morsels, he said, pleased with himself. You don't expect me to eat all 3, do you? I asked. Being a human for so long had diminished my appetite. They were big and very fluffy. I chose one and carried it away from him. I didn't want him to watch me eat, let alone roast it. After burying the bones, I returned to him. He was swallowing the remainder of the 2 sheep. As dragons, we ate our food whole, but I couldn't watch him do it. I'd scraped off as much of its wool as I could before roasting it. Meat fell off the bone more easily when roasted. Bones gave me indigestion. After warding the cavern's entrance and reinforced my deterrent spell for boring critters, I followed Longor out. The passage shimmered not too far from my cavern. I realized that he'd been observing me, if not him, then someone from Terra. We arrived at night. I followed Longor as he led me to the palace. I didn't recognize anything. When my parents and the other dragons fled Terra, I was still a hatchling of about 60 years old. I never really had a life there. I had been to the palace once, and I still remembered it. Longor led me to a rock-hewn chamber where I was to sleep. I was tired and blindly entered the cave. Being tired, my senses didn't register the magic until I was fully inside. It was a trap. Longor hadn't followed me in, and when I turned to him, he was wearing an amused expression. "Am I a prisoner?" I asked, alarmed. "Just a precautionary measure to ensure that no one harms you in my absence." "Sleep well, my dear." He left without a backward glance. My senses were tingling more now. Something wasn't right. He said that it was a matter that needed my attention, and he hadn't elaborated further. My aunt was gone, and so was my mother. He should have been next in line to rule if it hadn't been for me. He could have solved his problem by simply killing me, but he hadn't. Being imprisoned like this didn't seem like he trusted me, even though I told him that I would abdicate my right to rule. What was he planning? I sighed and lay down on the straw provided. I sensed magic all around me, inducing me to sleep. Still enjoying the story? Come back next time for another episode of Dragon.